Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, you guys would have just watched a pretty good montage there of what my typical morning looks like. And today's video is one that I've been wanting to film for a while since actually starting the YouTube channel. But it's essentially a walkthrough of my day, everything that I get up to during the day, how we implement Sikhi into the day as well, but provide this bit as well where I sit down and actually explain to you what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and how it connects back to Sikhi. So the first little bit that you guys would have seen is what a typical morning looks like for myself. And what I'm not going to do is give you guys a time that I wake up, because I'll be honest, it all depends on the training and the work that I've done the night before. Now, as someone who trains quite a lot of my sessions do typically run until about 11 p.m. and we're normally sleeping by like midnight. As I'm training, recovery is also very important. So sometimes I do need to maximize the amount that I'm sleeping. So normally aiming for about 7 to 8 hours. So sleep is very important, is important for your bhagati, is important for your work, is important for your training. So making sure that you're getting enough sleep is essential to your morning. Now at the start of the day, I've got a rule that I need to present myself and get dressed appropriately for the day as the first thing I do. So minus the things obviously that we do in the bathroom, brushing our teeth, taking a shower, that sort of stuff. The first thing I do is tie my damalla, take care of my beard and take care of my face. Now that allows me to obviously be ready for the day, to head out if I need to go anywhere, to be dressed appropriately for what I'm doing, depending on meetings, on work. And that applies to working from home as well. So even if I'm working from home, I'm still getting dressed as if I'm going out. Now, what the wider community, what people would see first is yourself and how you present yourself. And obviously being dressed is a pretty good indicator of what someone is like, albeit when you speak to them, there might be someone completely different. But that initial expectation you have of someone is based on how they're dressed, how they look. And obviously looking approachable is very important as a Sikh because we're here to serve humanity. For myself, being dressed, looking approachable, and obviously being able to then serve humanity if anyone does have anything for me to do is very, very important. And obviously after getting ready, the first thing is to get our Naam Jap and our Nitnem done. Now on this topic of Naam Jap and Nitnem, I always try and do my Naam Jap first, because what I'll find sometimes is Nitnem, especially in a country where we've got to get to work, we've got to be somewhere on time, does sometimes turn into just listening to it. And if that's the case, I'll listen to it while I'm tying my damalla and getting ready, because obviously I'm focused on what I'm doing. While tying your damalla is normally a good time to do part anyway, because you're putting the crown of your guru on. But Naam Jap for me is the most important one. And the reason being is that is what's actually going to enable you to connect to the Atma, to the oneness. Now Nitnem helps us do that. It's an aid. When we read Nitnem, there's obviously meanings, there's definitions behind everything. It gives us a bit of a story as well. Obviously we want to attain Anand, which comes at the end of Nitnem. You do need to place an emphasis on the Naam Jap that you do. And it really does ground your day. It gets you going for the day, it gets you prepared, and mentally you're at a much better place after you've cleared your mind through Naam Jap. So Naam Jap for me is the most important thing in the morning, then normally followed by Nitnem. If I'm in a rush, I'll do it while I'm tying my damalla. Now another important rule that I have for myself is actually being fully fueled up for the day. So breakfast is one of those things that I never miss, and obviously my morning coffee, I need that to get going. So I have my regular breakfast, which you guys would have seen in the montage, which is Greek yogurt, granola, honey and fruits. I love it. I think it's such a banging meal. Nutrition aside, it tastes so good. And the reason why I like to be prepared is you just never know what's going to happen. Like you might have to go a couple hours without food, or you might go into the office and work is thrown straight at you. You're not ready for the day. And plus, obviously, I'm training as well, so I need to make sure I'm getting all of my meals in. So food for me is very important, and this is always done after Nitnem and Naam Jap. So I've made it a thing for myself where, like Mata Sahib Devanji used to do for Guru Gobind Singh Ji, where she wouldn't eat until she had darshan of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. For me, it's the same thing here with my Nitnem. Nitnem has to be done. I've got to have that darshan, that experience, that emotional connection with my Guru before I then get into worldly matters like eating my food. So that's just another little rule that I have for myself. Hopefully that helps in terms of what you guys do, if that's something you want to implement. And following this, it all really depends on the weather. If the weather's nice, I'll take my coffee outside into the garden and just stand around, hang around for a little bit before coming back in and obviously getting locked into work. Because a form of bhakti is actually being outside and one with nature. And there's a lot of scientific research. I don't have it on me. I'm sure you guys can research, but getting that morning sunlight is very important to obviously raising your energy levels for the day. So it's something I try to do, but obviously living in the UK, it just depends on if the sun is even out. And at that point, my morning routine is done. That is pretty much it. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day, from waking up to getting ready to doing my bar to eating to drinking my coffee. It's normally about an hour and a half to 2 hours. If I'm in a rush, hour and a half. Okay, so this morning we're doing a little bit of work on Rehetname, especially looking at mainly the Nihang model within a modern household life. So you could say like Grisht Jeevan. And this is actually something that I've been wanting to do, because obviously when we read the original Rehetname of Buddha, so we can find one inside of the Gutka itself, as well as from people like Bhai Dayal Singh and many other resources. We find a way of life that can be a little bit difficult to work in modern day life, if you like, especially as a householder. So essentially what I'm doing here is looking through quite a few of our old Rehetname, Puratan texts, and piecing together a way that all of the things that they did meet that same expectation, but able to be practiced in a modern householder life. Right, so that green bag that we just got is a couple of shastras from Akal Accessories. So we'll open them up on here, show you guys what we got. So, shastra wise, obviously we've got the traditional, shastra that we see, the Taksali Kirpan. Nothing wrong with it. Continue wearing it, but I myself prefer Peshkabs and Khanjars, which are a slightly different style of weapon. And the first one that I'm going to show you is slightly more modern design, not that Puratan, and I think it looks pretty cool. And it's a Sarablo Shastra, so here we have it. We'll get it out of the sheath. So we've got a couple of cool patterns on there as well, with the wooden handle. Now obviously you can see it's a single blade, so the blade actually goes through the handle and all the way around the top. So it's a single piece of metal. And it says Fateh on this side as well. So pretty nice Shastra, good daily. This one needs to be sharpened, but I guess that's part of the seva of the Shastra as well. And then the second one is almost like a replica of Guru Gobind Singh Ji Shastra. So I don't know if many of you have had the chance to head to Azur Sahib, but they actually showcase Guru Gobind Singh Ji Shastras. And I myself wear one of those as well. So a lot of people ask what sort of kirpan I wear. It's underneath my shirt. But I've got one over there, and it's similar to this Shastra here. So if we get this out of the sheath, this one's obviously got the Yashtpuja on it, nice little design on it, and then on this side it says Sri Akalaji Sahai. So a little bit of embroidery, but essentially it's the same Shastra without obviously the wooden handle. But this is very much a similar sort of Shastra to what Guru Gobind Singh Ji made. And this Shastra is from Akal Accessories, so I'll leave the details down below. But essentially they're bringing in Shastras, more everyday wearable Shastras, as opposed to like the bigger stuff, the bigger Kirpanna, the 3-foot Kirpanna. So I'll leave their details down below. Do check them out. now we're going to move into obviously what I've just done during the day, the clips that you guys have just watched, as well as opening up some new shastar. So my workday typically starts at around 8:30 to 9 a.m. Normally 8:30 to 9 is just admin stuff, so going through emails, anything that's come overnight, replying to any chats, things like that. Now I've got the luxury to be able to do this at 9 a.m. and that is what I like to call my Sikhi hour. And what happens in this hour is Santhya. So my Santhya teacher is based in India and we do it over Zoom. And for those who don't know what Santhya is, it's learning the correct pronunciation of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, as well as all the other Baniyan like Dasam Granth, Sarablo Granth. And that is normally for the first 30 minutes. We normally do about half an hour over a Zoom video call. And then I go straight into my personal research. So really, it just depends on what I'm researching. At the moment, it's a Granth called the Faridkot Tika. Now, one of my good friends actually recommended I read this. And it is a very difficult text to sort of understand. So it's taken me a long time. Like, I'm only on page 6. Like, it's taken me like over a week just to get through page 6. But it's not about, obviously, the time. It's about what I get out of it. And I'm really trying my hardest to obviously go as much into depth as I can. And then another study that I like to enjoy is around Rahatname and how Singhs used to live their lives. Obviously this video is very much a Rahatnama for myself. It's how I live my life. And I like to go into understanding how the Rahats have changed over time and who was actually the one changing the Rahat and why were they changing it. Because the Gurus have instructed us to go with the times as opposed to being against the time. So we should be able to live our Sikhi within our everyday lives without hindrance. Sikhi shouldn't become something that you have to dedicate time to or, you know, take out 2-3 hours of your day and, you know, feel like you're losing them 2-3 hours in your day. It should become something that you're doing while you're doing your life. It should be intertwined into every single task that you do. And that takes me nicely into obviously the work day. I work up until about 6 or 7 p.m. and during that time obviously I do my work, but while I am working I will delve into my research, I will delve into a bit of Naam Jap now and again, I will be listening to Kirtan while I'm working. So in doing so I'm using modern things like obviously having headphones, having speakers to listen to Kirtan, having the luxury to then be able to, for example at lunch, maybe listen to a podcast, maybe listen to some katha, to some history, take part in some Naam Jap, is using the tools that we get given while living here in the West. Now, a lot of people obviously in India, in slightly poorer countries, don't have these luxuries and we've got them. So for us to be able to use these to our advantages as opposed to just, you know, listening to other things like music. I'm very much a big music listener. I'm not saying don't listen to music. I don't have a problem with, you know, listening to music. I don't think there is a problem. But it's obviously being wary of using these tools and these things in a way that you're actually progressing your Sikhi as well. So it's not a case that you're always listening to music. Maybe just your morning commute, you're listening to Kirtan as opposed to Kanye West, because that at 9 a.m. is obviously, I don't know how you guys operate, but I can't do that at 9 a.m. I'm more of a Lana Del Rey guy in the morning and even in the night. But anyway, listening to some Kirtan, listening to some Katha when you've got the time at work, maybe taking in a mala with you and fading the mala, doing the mala when you're sat at your desk, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. And that way you are improving your Sikhi, you're regrounding your mind, you're living that grishti, that household jivan, that life that the Gurus have prescribed to their Sikhs. And for lunch, you guys would have seen I had beans on toast. 1 whole tin of beans, solid amount of protein. I don't think I put it in there, but then I normally have a double scoop protein shake at lunch as well. You're getting about 70 grams, 80 grams of protein. And I'm very much carb heavy at the moment, hence the beans on toast. And that is purely because I'm training for an Ironman. I do need them carbs later on in the day, but I'm still trying to hit my protein goals as well, which is why I'm looking a little bit smaller than I previously have. So yeah, that's what my typical work day would look like. Then we close the laptop at around 6 or 7 p.m. depending on what time I'm training. And that will then take us into the evening portion of this day in the life. So having finished work, closing that laptop and heading downstairs, on that particular day we had a double session. So we had a bike for an hour indoor on the trainer. It was a high watt, high cadence ride. So we were aiming for just under 300 watts. That is just a power measurement when you're on a bike, as well as keeping the cadence, which is the RPM, how many times you're spinning your legs in a minute above 80. So very difficult. I was sweating so much. But while I'm normally on the bike, I've either got a kata on, depending on my concentration levels, or a TV show on. And it's normally a good way for obviously the time to pass by, because I'm indoors just pedaling and it does get pretty boring. And that indoor training is actually good for my mind, because it's just me and my thoughts when I'm indoors. Obviously when I'm outside, there's things to look at and you're seeing the world happen around you. But when you're on that bike indoors, it's literally just the same view for like an hour, 2 hours, however long I'm on there. So it's some good mental resilience training. And once we finished on the bike, we went straight into a run. So obviously I'm refueling while I'm on the bike. And then as soon as I finish, get off the bike, shoes on and straight out the door. It's called a brick workout. It's getting used to that transition in a triathlon, because for those who don't know, you go from a swim straight into a cycle, straight into a run. And obviously going from a bike to a run, you're going to have the fatigue of being on the bike, and then getting straight into the run is normally pretty difficult. But we only had half an hour. We had a ceiling of 175 beats per minute, so how many times my heart is beating. And we maintained that. We done 30 minutes, just over 5k. I think we were at around 7k for that particular run. And that concluded the training block. And obviously when I came home, the first thing we'd done was shower, because I stank. And by that point, it was around 8:30 in the evening, and it was getting pretty late, so we had to do our redas. Now redas for me is one of those barniya that is actually, in my mind, and again this is just my opinion, one of the most important ones for myself. And that is because you've spent the whole day, from your nitnem till your redas, you spent the whole day working, taking on any issues, going out, doing my training. It really allows me to ground myself back and give myself some time. And obviously I do my arta post redas, and it's one of my favourite barniya to read, because it just puts you in such a happy mood. It's like you could have had the worst day, but you're doing your arti, you're singing it in front of your shastar. It's just that nice bit of personal time that you have with your shastar, with yourself, and something that you can really look forward to in the evening. So as opposed to looking at redas as a chore, and for that matter any other barniya as a chore, we should really be looking at it as an opportunity to allow our minds to reground themselves, and just to bring that little bit of anand, that bliss, back into your lives after a pretty long day, after a pretty hard day. And straight after redas, again for me, it's one of those things similar to nitnem, where I don't like to eat my dinner until my redas is done. So I always try and complete that before I eat. And for dinner, a normal meal would look like a lot of rice and as much dal as I can fit into my plates. Normally around 450 to 500 grams of dal, kidney beans, sholle, things like that, with rice, and then obviously some vegetables as well, just to conclude the day. And while I eat, I do watch a TV show. After I eat, if there's no work that needs to be caught up on, I do just enjoy, again, my TV show. Sikhi isn't something that needs to be obstructive into everything. Like I said, it's something that you intertwine into your day. So a lot of people say, oh, you've got a bit of free time in the evening, why don't you start doing X, Y, Z? But I've just had a long day at work and I need to wind down. And sometimes for me, that's reading a book, it's watching a TV show, it could be listening to Kirtan. I'm not going to force myself to do something just because someone else is telling me to do it. I think that's very important for a lot of things to understand, is that just because you've got an hour in the day, don't try and force your Sikhi. It should come naturally. That it's fine to wind down, to watch a TV show. There is nothing wrong with that. So that is what I like to do in the evening. And obviously as we then head up to bed, I normally conclude it with a bit of reading as well while I'm in bed, and drink my chocolate milkshake as a little treat. Sometimes I do have a little homemade cake on the side as well. I'll read my book while eating and drinking that, head into bed, do my Kirtan Soila while I'm in bed, and then aim for lights out, ideally before midnight. So on that particular day, we were around 11:30. And then, yeah, we head to bed for the remainder of the night. So that is what a typical day looks like for myself. I really hope that helps. Not too much information in today's video and facts, if you like. I do want to make it clear, again, all of these are my opinions. I don't speak for the whole bunch. I speak from my personal perspective, from my personal views when it comes to Sikhi. And it's just a video that I really wanted to make to obviously try and show you guys how I put a lot of what I speak about on YouTube into practice and how I intertwine my Sikhi into my day. And you would have seen that was a one-off in the afternoon where I went to the Gurdwara. I took my dog for a groom. The groomers are right next to the Gurdwara, and obviously the Gurdwara being right there, I decided to go in to Bala Fateh, to Maharaj, to look at the new Nishan Sahib, to see what's going on. And we do want to try our best to obviously go to the Gurdwara as much as we can. And normally for us, that's on a Saturday. But whenever I do have the chance, if there's a little bit of time here and there where I can make it, I'll head into the Gurdwara. And again, whenever I do have some more extra time during the day, I normally spend that time in research into Sikhi and doing my Santya, things like that. But for a lot of people, it could be learning the Vajra, it could be going into research, it could be taking part in Seva, it could be taking part in Seva of the homeless or at your local Gurdwara. So it's just really trying to find a way where you're able to put Sikhi into your life without you feeling like it's becoming a hindrance. So I really hope you guys enjoyed that video, slightly different to what I usually film. But as always, please do like, subscribe and share this video, and I do want everyone to leave a comment on what they actually want to see from this YouTube channel. Obviously, I've got videos planned, but if people want to see more videos like the day in the lives, or if there's anything in specific that people want to see, I know I've been seeing a lot of Speakers Corner comments. It's coming. We're just waiting for the weather to get better, and then we'll be heading back to Speakers Corner. But anything else, please do let me know in the comments. And I really do appreciate all the messages that I've been getting in the past few weeks over on Instagram and on Facebook of everyone who is enjoying the videos and finding some sort of benefit from them. So again, with this video, I really hope you guys enjoy it, and I will catch you in the next one. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.